The most striking truth about cognitive boomerangs is that the more evidence you provide to defend your position, the more guilty you appear within the manipulator's frame. We generally assume that a clear, honest explanation can resolve any conflict, but in high-pressure dynamics, your own words can be turned into the very weapon used to silence you. Why does bringing up a valid concern often end with you apologizing for how you said it? This is the core paradox of cognitive boomerangs, the moment your voice is flipped to become proof of your own failings.
So just let that sink in for a second. It goes against everything we think we know about communication, right? We're taught to believe, hey, if I just explain myself, if I lay out the facts, the emails, whatever, then they'll understand. But in this kind of dynamic, that very instinct to clarify actually works against you. The conversation is basically rigged to make the truth totally irrelevant. Your attempts to explain get twisted into defensiveness, and your evidence becomes proof that you're aggressive or obsessive. It's a really baffling experience, and that's exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer.
All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll dig into that core paradox, why explaining can actually make things worse. Then we're going to decode the main linguistic trick at play here and its three-step playbook. We'll also look at the psychology behind why it's all so incredibly exhausting. And finally, we'll arm you with some solid tools to help you spot it and stay grounded.
Now, before we really dive in, I want to make one thing crystal clear. We're not here to diagnose or label anyone. What we're looking at is a pattern of communication. Think of it like a kind of conversational machine that can leave you feeling like you're losing your mind. Our goal here is simply to understand the mechanics of how a perfectly reasonable concern can get turned completely upside down. This right here is really the heart of the matter. See, most of us walk into a conversation in what you could call problem-solving mode. Our goal is to find a solution, to reach a shared understanding. We just assume the other person is playing the same game. But the cognitive boomerang operates in a totally different mode, frame dominance. In this mode, the goal isn't to solve anything. The goal is to control the narrative, to win. And when one person is trying to solve a problem and the other is just trying to win, well, the conversation is destined to fail. That's where all that confusion and frustration comes from.
Okay, so let's get into the engine of this thing. It actually has a name, linguistic inversion. And honestly, once you understand this concept, everything else starts to click into place. It's the key to seeing what's really going on.
So what is linguistic inversion? Well, it's the flip. It's that precise moment when a conversation about what happened suddenly becomes a conversation about what's wrong with you. For example, you might bring up an objective fact, like a missed deadline, but the response you get has nothing to do with the deadline. Instead, it's all about your tone, or your negativity, or how you're always so critical. The topic gets flipped from the external event to your internal character. And just like that, the facts don't matter anymore.
In this dynamic, it has some really predictable and frankly damaging effects. First, you can get stuck in the accountability trap. You know this feeling. You just keep explaining over and over thinking, okay, this time, if I just say it perfectly, they'll finally get it. Then comes what's called linguistic vertigo. It's that dizzying, gut-wrenching feeling where you actually start to doubt your own memory, thinking, wait, maybe it didn't happen that way. Am I crazy? And over time, this leads to the silencing effect. Your brain, just trying to protect you from the pain of the boomerang, learns to stop bringing up problems altogether.
Okay, so we get the principle behind linguistic inversion. Now let's break down the actual playbook. This is the observable, step-by-step pattern you can learn to see in action.
So it all starts with step one, the non-committal pivot. You bring up a totally valid, fact-based concern. Something like, hey, you agreed to send that email yesterday and it wasn't sent. Now, instead of addressing the email, the conversation is immediately pivoted. The response is something like, wow, do you really have to use that tone? Or, this is not the time to bring this up. The original issue is never even touched. It's just sidestepped by attacking how you said it.
And then comes step two, the character attack. This is the boomerang itself. The accusation gets flipped right back on you. Your concern about that email is now reframed as evidence of your character flaw. It becomes, you're just so demanding, or why are you always trying to control everything? You see what just happened there? The conversation is now 100% about you and what's supposedly wrong with you. The actual email is completely forgotten.
And that brings us to the final crucial move, step 3, the submission reflex. This is what locks the whole pattern in place. See, a character attack creates intense psychological stress. Our brains are hardwired to want to end conflict. So to make that horrible, uncomfortable feeling stop, what do so many of us do? We apologize. We say, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry my tone was off. But that apology, which is really just an attempt to find peace, ends up accidentally validating their character attack and makes your original concern vanish for good. So there it is, the whole loop in 3 simple steps: pivot, attack, submit. This is the rhythm that creates what you might call argumentative immunity. Once this cycle gets going, the person using it becomes basically immune to accountability. And why is that? Because you've been conditioned. Your brain learns that trying to address a real issue just leads to a painful attack and the shame of backing down. It's a powerful, self-reinforcing loop.
So why on earth is this pattern so effective? I mean, why does it work so well? Well, it's not just about clever wordplay. It's actually targeting some fundamental parts of our psychology. Let's dig into the engine that makes us all run.
The primary goal here is something called defensive exhaustion, and this strategy is simple and it's pretty brutal. Make it so psychologically painful and exhausting for you to bring up a problem that eventually you just stop. It's about getting control by completely wearing you down. This isn't about winning a single argument. It's about creating a system where arguments can't even happen anymore.
Now, this pattern is so effective because it exploits some very common, very human vulnerabilities. First, there's the sunk cost fallacy in communication. You've already spent 10 minutes trying to explain yourself, so you feel like you just have to keep going. Then there's our deep-seated need for fairness. We're taught to always see their side, but that can be weaponized against us until we start valuing their perspective more than our own reality. And that leads to the most damaging part. The internal question shifts from what happened to what's wrong with me?
Okay, so we've broken down the problem, the pattern, and the psychology. And that can feel pretty heavy, I know. But the whole point of understanding a system is so you can navigate it. So now, let's talk about the toolkit. Let's equip ourselves with the tools for detection and awareness. And listen, this isn't about learning how to fight back or win. This is about learning to see things clearly.
This is your first and most powerful tool, and it's called the Topic Audit. It's so simple. In the middle of a confusing, draining conversation, you just silently ask yourself this one question. What was the original topic I brought up, and what are we talking about now? If you realize you brought up an unsent email, but the conversation is now about your character flaws, then boom, a boomerang just happened. Just the simple act of labeling it for yourself is incredibly grounding. It pulls you right out of the emotional storm.
And that topic audit leads you right to the next step: conversational anchoring. Once you see the redirect for what it is, which is just a dodge from accountability, you can make a choice. You can choose to not engage with the character attack. You don't have to defend your tone or your timing. Instead, you can just gently but firmly anchor the conversation back to the original fact. And this part is so important. You don't need to apologize for your tone when your tone was just a reaction to being disrespected.
Okay, let's bring this all home with the final, and I think most profound shift in perspective. This is how we move from being constantly on the defense to reclaiming our conversational sovereignty. It's about completely changing how you interpret these kinds of interactions.
And here's the fundamental truth of it all. You are using the language of problem solving, facts, reason, a desire for resolution. But if the other person is using the language of frame dominance, pivots, attacks, and inversions, you're literally speaking 2 different languages. And no amount of your clear, logical, problem-solving language is ever going to get through. Accepting that reality is the first real step to breaking free from the cycle. This leads to a powerful new frame of mind. When you bring up an issue or a boundary, and it gets boomeranged back at you as some kind of character flaw, that is not a point you have to debate. It's a piece of data. That's it. And the data tells you, okay, this person responds to accountability with a character attack. It's just information. And that information helps you decide how you want to interact with that person in the future. You don't have to defend your experience, and you certainly don't need their agreement for it to be valid.
And we're going to end on this because this is the ultimate takeaway. The entire cognitive boomerang system is designed to make you feel guilty for simply asking for consideration, for accountability, for respect. It's engineered to make you apologize for having a voice. But by recognizing the pattern, the pivot, the attack, the push for submission, you can see that you have absolutely nothing to apologize for. That awareness is your shield. It's what keeps your voice your own, and it's what ensures your words become a source of strength, not a cage.